Blazer fans, welcome back to episode number 69 of the Blazer Victory Podcast, where our UAB Blazers take down number 13 ranked BYU 31-28 in Shreveport for the best win in program history for UAB. Steve, where do we start, man? Just what a phenomenal evening for the UAB football program down in Shreveport.
I think that's where you start. Everything put together. I mean, what a great night. I mean, it was just, we talked about it before, and it was the kind of game that if you find a way to win, it takes your program another huge step, and they did, and now the program took a huge step. I mean, just the great thing was it was national TV, so
Yes.
so people got a chance to see just how special some of these how special this program is and can be, how special the players are. Guys stepped up on a big stage. I mean, that's a big stage, and stepped up and I mean, it just Coach talked a lot about it in our radio after the game, but how big of a team effort this was. I mean, this was this wasn't one guy stepping up and being Superman, even though there was some of that going on.
Yeah.
This was guy after guy. I mean, guys making plays. This was, getting, slugging them in the mouth first, and then getting slugged in the mouth and just answering every time. I mean, just the way they answered after falling behind in the fourth quarter was incredible. I mean, it was incredible, and so just a great night. Again, it shows what this program's capable of, and it was a difficult year. I mean, it was with the schedule and some of the injuries and all that kind of stuff, and they kept fighting through it, and ended up with the biggest. I mean, it is the biggest win in school history, I think, but I don't know. It's hard to. It's hard to put wins over wins where you win a championship.
Right.
So, now, but I mean, this thing with the highest ranked team that program's ever beaten, in the situation that it was with a lot of adversity, and found a way to win. So that big old trophy came home. It's cool. It's a cool trophy too, and then but it came home with I think it came home on the bus. Actually, there was a bus of people that had to take a bus home, and I think it came home there. But it's home, and that's what counts.
And real quick on that trophy, I was talking with my dad after the game, and my goodness, that thing looked heavy, man.
Oh, that
That was a
thing's
big old
huge.
thing, yeah.
That thing's huge. I think that's why they couldn't get it on the plane. It was too big.
Golly.
But good thing they have a lot of strong guys on that team to carry that thing around. But
Right.
it's cool looking. And the thing is, I don't know I don't think you can fit it in the trophy case. So it's
Oh,
probably gonna have to sit on a table somewhere because it's that thing's
yeah,
pretty
that
tall. But
definitely, yeah, that thing's gonna break that trophy case if it
yeah,
gets in
yeah, which is great. Hey, that's a
that.
great problem to have. But build a bigger one, man. You know,
Exactly.
uh,
And real quick too, Steve, I know this was a bowl game. This wasn't it's like this wasn't a championship game. This wasn't a regular season game, but it's still a huge win that UAB football can just take this into the 2022 season and just build on. And you just
yeah,
spoke on too, just all the adversity that this team faced this year. With high expectations, losing that tough game to UTSA, just all the ups and downs and ebb and flows of this 2021 season. Just what a great way to end this season and just help catapult us into next season. With the younger guys that were on this team, and we talked about before how we do lose some guys from this team, but this is definitely something that the guys can take and build on into the 2022 season.
yeah. I mean, absolutely. And you can go back to that Rice loss, which is
Yeah.
probably the ugliest point of the season, and the way they responded to that, and they're 4-1 after that, and obviously we're sitting here thinking it should be 5-0, but I mean they're
Hmm.
4-1. They found a way. They played really well after that Rice game, and that was that was the probably the low point of the season.
And
And
all the injuries too, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the injuries, and you have guys, just it just I think it's a testament to to Bill Clark, and it's a testament to that coaching staff, and it's a testament, probably a bigger testament, to the kids, to the players. I mean, to
Yeah.
keep fighting through this, and because honestly, especially with a lot of guys that had come back and it was their last season, and they could have checked out after that Rice game. I mean, could have just went, this isn't working out. They could have quit fighting, but they did the opposite. And again, that's a testament to everybody in that program. And it starts with Bill Clark, but it's everybody. And I think that that's what's kind of cool to see. And you can sit there all you want and do the what ifs, and I do it. I mean, I was thinking about it
Yeah.
last night, thinking, man, what if. But it doesn't. You can't change it. All you can do is get through it and get past it and get over it and get better. And that's what they did. And it isn't a championship game last night, but boy, it sure had a championship game feel at the end. You know, with the
Yeah.
celebration. I mean, it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like just your typical bowl game celebration. Which is, you're happy after winning the bowl game, no matter what the bowl game is. It's a that's why when people say bowl games are meaningless exhibitions, no, they're not. I mean,
Oh
all you gotta do is
no.
you just watch celebrations to see it. It means something, and um, to see that one last night, it was just a little more. So it did have a championship game feel, and a lot of that was the opponent. You're playing a top 15 team. I mean, they win that game, and they're in the top 10. At
Oh
the end of
yeah.
the year, so they finished the year top 10. So that's huge. And hey, let's not forget. I mean, they had a lot of adversity too. They're playing. Their injuries were as bad, maybe even more significant than UAB's. If you go back for the first year, and they played without the quarterback, but that was a team that was a BYU team that wanted to win that game. So I mean, they didn't just show up and were bad about being there. They wanted to win that game. So just again, just a tremendous game, just a tremendous, really entertaining, um, you know, nerve wracking, obviously, but just a tremendous game and a great win.
Yeah, and real quick, just speaking on that, Steve, we saw some BYU fans on Twitter say, "Wow, we didn't want to be there anyway." Man,
Uh,
don't cut that out, man.
yeah,
Y'all had a chance to, like you just said, to you win the ball game, you finish in the top 10, more than likely. So there was a
yeah.
lot on the line for BYU in that game.
Oh, absolutely was. Yeah, that don't give me that. I mean, that's a loser mentality. I mean,
Yes.
that team wanted to win that game. They showed up. They were ready. They wanted to win that game. And I mean, the handful of BYU fans, and we saw a lot of the social media stuff, and
Hmm.
and and but it's still a handful. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's just the arrogance and there's still. I mean, I still see some of it last night. I got in last night when I got home, and still see some of, well, they still are no good, and we still lost to a bad team and all this kind of stuff. Shut up,
Yeah.
shut up.
Agreed.
You can't watch that game last night and say that UAB is a bad team and doesn't belong on the field with BYU. Shut up. I don't even want to hear
Mm.
it. Um, just but hey, I don't think that. Well, I know that the people who count, which is the people that are on the field and the coaching staff, I don't think they felt the same way as that at all. I think they do. The UAB was a good football team, and they believe it to this moment. They will believe it. That people that count, the ones that hide behind the social media, and even if they put their own name on, they that doesn't count. What their opinion is of UAB, who cares?
Right.
What does count is the people who play the game and coach the game, and and the people that look at it rationally and understand that there's good football played all around the country at all levels. So um, again, who cares what they think? When the game was
Exactly.
played, UAB won it, and that's what the record book's going to say.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and just talk about that game. If you guys, if you were able to listen a couple episodes before, at our BYU bowl game preview when we spoke with Mitch Harper. In the couple losses that BYU had before this game, the other team was just more physical than them, and I felt, and I'm sure you agree, Steve, that UAB was a lot more physical than BYU, especially on UAB's offensive line going against BYU's defensive line. I mean, it felt like really the whole game UAB just controlled the line of scrimmage. Even on you look at Algiers, the BYU running back stats. I mean, of course, he had almost 200 yards, but I still feel like, what I was able to see, that UAB's defensive front did a really good job. It was just hard to bring that dude down, man.
Oh yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, I said on the broadcast that if we were playing touch football, he wouldn't be that good,
Right.
because it wasn't hard to get to him. It was just hard to get him down.
Yes.
And he would, boy, man, is he good? He's
Yeah, you
so
got to
good.
tip your hat to him, man,
Oh,
because
oh yeah,
golly.
because he's carrying 4 or 5 people. He's carrying Alex Wright. He's carrying the biggest guys out there for UAB,
Hmm.
and so and honestly, I thought UAB did a really good job on him. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just hard to bring him down. I mean, I thought obviously the long touchdown run was just a sensational play. I mean, it was and but UAB you know just it was well blocked, and he was well run, and so give him that. But other than that, I mean, he had to earn his yards. Now
Yeah.
he's just good. I mean, there's not much you can do. You can just keep battling, and I thought they did a good job of battling him. And I agree. I think the UAB defensive front played well. I mean, but I thought on the other side, I mean, the offensive line was sensational. There was one time, last night when I think it was the second half. I think it was the third quarter. David Crane, made the call that I think it was McBride running. He said, runs into a wall of defenders. You know, for a short gain or whatever it was, runs into a wall of defenders, and he did. He ran into like the whole defensive line, but it was 5 yards down the field. So they had
Hmm.
moved. They had moved the line 5 yards, but it was a 5 yard gain. I think, and that was to me was one of the signature moments of just how well they were playing up front. I mean, when
Yes,
you run into the whole defensive line, but it's not 5 yards down, not till it was 5 yards down the field, that's really moving the line of scrimmage. And
definitely.
and so I think that was, I think all night long, the tight ends and the offensive line they won it. They won the line of scrimmage, and obviously you don't have to do much to get old McBride going because
Right.
he's sensational. But he was running through holes now. I mean, it wasn't just him. I mean, it was they did a great job up front, and we said that beforehand that if you're going to have to win up front to win this game, and that's exactly what happened.
Definitely. And you look at Debo, 28 carries for 183 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown, the 60-yard touchdown, I mean, was a thing of beauty, man. He stiff armed that
Oh, that
guy.
stiff arm, yeah, that
Man,
stiff arm
nasty.
was. It wasn't quite the Daryl Hackney stiff arm, but
No.
it was one of the most famous stiff arms in school history. It was great. It was great.
Oh,
And
yes.
then to outrun everybody else down the sideline and break one more tackle, and I mean and that's a great thing. He is so good at he's got great vision. He
Hmm.
knows when to he sees the hole quickly and he gets there. Knows when to pop the ball outside if he has to. Knows when to use the speed when he has to. Knows when he has to run through people. Just has such a good sense of how to run the football. And every you see plays like that where he you see everything from you see his strength, you see his ability to cut and find a hole, you see his
Hmm.
speed, you see his determination to get in the end zone. I mean, and again, the biggest thing I loved from that last night was that people around the country that may have never seen him got a chance to see just how good he is. I mean, and so that was kind of fun to think about that. People get to see him now. I mean, it is what it is. But the fact that he didn't bring home the MVP honors,
What is up with that? And
Well,
did they really
what
give
they
it to two
do,
BYU guys? Like,
yeah, and what they do in every bowl game. I'm not bashing the Independence Bowl people here because this was the best run bowl, one of the best run bowls I've ever been to. I mean, it's incredible. We can get into that later with just how well that these people ran this bowl game. It's tremendous.
Mhm,
But what every bowl does is they collect the voting really early in the fourth quarter, and because they have to have it counted and ready for their celebration afterwards. So
mhm,
a lot of times what they do is they'll on your ballot, the ballot's just people to media and just others vote on it, and what they'll do is it'll say if UAB wins, fill a name. If BYU wins, fill in the name. You know,
mhm,
um, but apparently this one, because I never saw a ballot. So apparently this one, they just had you just voted, and
hmm,
probably at the time that they collected them, probably BYU was ahead. Now Algier was having a huge game,
yeah,
and then defensive lineman was having a huge game, and but what should be done when you do that is you should say if this team wins, if that team wins. Well, apparently they didn't do that,
mm,
and I didn't even know it till I think I was on a plane before I even knew it.
yeah,
I asked somebody like, "Hey, who's the MVP?" And they told me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible."
yeah.
But hey, I'd rather bring home the team the trophy than those individual trophies.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, so that was unfortunate because he should have been the offensive MVP, and Antonio Montre should have been the defensive MVP. But again, I'd rather have that championship or rather have the title, the team thing. But anyways, but he was tremendous. I mean, and they were tremendous up front, and that's what they needed to do to win this game.
Yeah. And also, speaking of individual performances in last night's bowl game, I mean, I feel like we've definitely got to hit on Dylan Hopkins. And Steve, I'll, kind of let you take it away. But real quick, I'll give his stats 19 to 23 for 189 yards, 3 touchdowns, and just one lone interception. But I mean, that really wasn't his fault on that interception. But I'll let you take it away here on Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, first, what a just a tremendous effort by him. Even if he's healthy, but I sitting there Friday night when I got in talking to people, and one of them tells me, "Yeah, I'm not sure if Dylan's going to play." I'm
Hmm.
like, "You're not sure what?
What? Yeah.
Excuse me?" And he had gotten sick. At first I mean, it might have been food poisoning, it might have been a stomach bug, it might, they don't really know, but he apparently had eaten something, probably I think maybe Wednesday night even, and it was either Wednesday or Thursday, and it got him sick, and he was throwing up, had at one point had a fever, really couldn't come out of his room, missed their walkthrough on third. I think he missed one day of practice, and then their walkthrough. Didn't I mean basically didn't come out. He told us in post game last night that since I think since Friday morning, the only thing he had to eat at all was he had some chicken noodle soup the morning of the game and a cracker,
Huh.
and that was all he had eaten, and just really, really, really didn't know whether he was going to be able to play, just because
Mm.
didn't know if he was even going to be able to get out of the room, and just said no, I owe it to this team to play, and I'm going to get out there and play, and then to show up at the stadium, and it's pouring down rain, and it's cold, and the
Right.
wind's blowing, and you're feeling cruddy anyway, and just to find a way to get out there and not only play, but I mean he completed his first 12 passes.
Hmm.
You're right, the interception. Now the ball, and he'll tell you the ball was a little low. I mean, it wasn't a perfect throw. It was a throw that should have been caught. So it really
Yeah.
was the receiver Shropshire's fault. I mean, he was the one. He probably should have went down and made the catch instead of trying to reach down, and but he's trying to make a play too. I mean, it was you can't really fault him. It just happened. It was a freak
No.
play,
Yeah.
a freak play. But other than that, and he had a throw. They're probably the only two throws that he had that weren't perfect, or that really didn't make a nice throw on were the low ball right there should have been a little higher, but again, it was catchable. And then the play
Mhm.
before the winning touchdown to Shropshire,
Yeah, the third
that
down, yeah.
yeah, that thing was almost intercepted. He tried to fit it in there, and that thing was close to being intercepted. So that one he probably shouldn't have tried to fit it in there, but he was trying to make a play. But I
Yeah.
mean, just a great job, and then gets you know, a tough run to get the last first down to be able to get the victory formation. I mean,
Mhm.
just an incredible day by the kid, and you always hear that, of course, the famous Michael Jordan flu game or whatever he had. And, you always hear that a
Mhm.
lot of times when you're sick and you're not feeling right, that tends to focus you more because you feel like you have to,
Mhm.
you're feeling so bad, you feel like you have to focus more. And that's kind of what he did. And I think that you just can't lose sight of just how good of a quarterback he's become. I mean, he's good now. I mean, some of those throws were tough throws. The touchdown was a great play of looking off the defense to the left and then coming back to Shropshire quickly to the right. Now he was great move by Shropshire to get open. Trey Ragley was down there right on playing. It was hard to see on the replay, but instead of what Shrop did was basically sold an inside the slant, and the guy bid on it, and he said the way he came out of it got, you know, basically just kind of twisted his body and got around him and got wide open in the corner. Was just a
Nice.
great route, just a great route. But it was a great throw. Um, I mean, what can you say about Hopkins? I mean, it's just he's another guy that could have been the MVP. And
Yeah.
maybe should have. I mean, but he's for him to do what he did and just not make any mistakes, other than the interception, but which, again, but, just on a day that you felt so bad. I mean, think about it. We all know how bad, how we all can be babies when we're sick, and whine
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
gets out there and plays a football game in those conditions. I mean, those conditions were
Right.
terrible. I mean,
Oh, it looked bad. Yeah.
the wind was terrible, and
Ugh.
the rain was sideways, during, particularly during the first half. And
Mm.
and hey, it's something you'll always remember, and it's something that really, I mean, he has the support of this team anyway, but it's something that players see that, and you
Yeah.
don't think that they're going to follow him, you know, down, going forward. I mean, come on now. I mean, that you see when your teammates do that, and your respect grows a lot for him. Not that they didn't have respect for him, but it grows. So, um, again, he doesn't have a trophy, but he was an MVP too.
Yes, and just also, just going through, his progression through the season this year, he's just gotten better and
Yeah,
better. And just, you love to see that, especially in your quarterback as the season get, as more starts, more reps he got, just the better he got, going along in the season. And just to end it on a high note this year, hopefully this can, you know, going into spring, because he's going to have some competition with those guys. We talked about on our early signing day episode that UAB signed. He's going to have some competition coming into the spring, and just what a great way to end the season and hope that this leads into spring practice and can keep going forward.
yeah, and I think he showed last night that he's ready for the competition. I think
Yes.
he shows he's the type of guy that's not afraid of competition. I mean, you can see that. I mean, you don't do what you do last night with the way you're feeling, stuff like that, if you're not a competitor. And then we knew it anyway. But I mean, I think
Yeah.
that just drives home. So that's going to be a great competition. And anybody that thinks that they know who's going to win that competition is probably is a little crazy right now, because that's going to be a great competition. And hey, there's no doubt who the number one guy is going in, and that
Oh
guy was
yeah.
wearing a UAB uniform last night. And
Yeah.
I think that obviously the Zeno is very talented, and Damon Stewart's going to be there. He's very talented, but he showed that he's the front runner going in, and you're gonna have to take it from him, and somebody might, but you're not gonna it's not gonna be handed to you. You gotta have to take it from him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And look who led the way in receiving yards in the bowl game. Ryan Davis, 3 catches for 50 yards, and had that really key 30-yard catch late in the game. But it was great to see him kind of get out there, and I know he kind of hobbled off too after that catch, but it was great to see him get back out there and have a couple key receptions.
Yeah, and I've said it since day one of our first
Mm,
of this year. Our first podcast of football.
you did.
Um, he was a guy that unfortunately he was banged up this year and he missed a lot of games, but went in there, man. He makes big plays.
He does.
And just as big as a 30-yarder was the third down
Yes.
catch in the first half that on the drive that put him up 21-14.
Hmm.
I mean, that was a tremendous catch, and that's what he does. He just makes plays to move the chains. Um, unfortunately, after he got banged up after that long one, I don't think he came back at all after
Uh,
that. So we don't know what happened, but yeah, I mean, just to have him, I thought Ty John Palmer had some good catches early on.
yes.
Shropshire made some plays.
And
Uh,
Prince doing things again, two
Prince did
touchdowns.
Prince things. You know. Obviously Pittman made some catches. I thought there was but there's some guys. Ryan Davis and Tyjaw Palmer, particularly that stepped up in the time of need, and that's why that was part of what the whole team effort thing that Coach was talking about was you had so many guys that you don't necessarily think of that made plays, and Ryan Davis had a huge contribution, there's no doubt.
Hmm. Well, let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, Steve. And, we kind of hit on him earlier, but Antonio
Oh my
Moultrie,
goodness.
9 tackles, but 4 TFLs. I mean, I swear he was in the backfield all pretty much all game. And he probably would have been in a little bit more if he didn't have to go to the sideline for a few plays after that time he had to sit
Yeah,
out.
yeah, he got kind of hit in the wrong place for a minute. I
Yeah.
heard Trey said there was a lot of guys kind of laughing at him on the sideline because we've all been there, and
Oh, yeah.
but no, I mean he was the best defensive player on the field. I mean
Yeah.
just everywhere, and I think that he helped. It was a big part of establishing that winning the line of scrimmage thing, and
Hmm.
and again, I mean, it's a tough day for him having to tackle that
Yeah.
big son of a gun,
Hmm.
but just and I thought he really helped set the tone early too. That he had a big tackle for loss. I think on the first series, yeah, it
Yeah.
was the first series, and then another one soon after that. And I think that kind of helped set the tone of the whole day. Like hey, we're here, we're good too, let's go. And,
Right.
and I think that he had a big part of that with those early tackles for losses, and so yeah, he was great. I mean, he's been great all year. He's an all conference guy. I don't care what the voting says. He's an all conference guy. Um, had an all conference season. Just those things happen. But yeah, he was tremendous. I mean, it was and I thought all the way up front. I thought Williams made some play. He had the only sack. Fish had the only sack.
Yeah.
Though that was kind of a team sack, really. I mean, all four guys were back there, but um, I thought Alex Wright made some solid plays. I think everybody that played up front did, but Moultrie was certainly yesterday was to me was the best defensive guy in the field.
Yeah, and also, how about Kyle Harrell again getting a couple key tackles too? I think he ended up with 2 solo, yeah, 4 total. So good to see him get some more tackles in there, and just
That's
he's
what he
he's
does,
got
man. That's
he's
what he
gotten better
does.
over the year too.
Oh,
Like,
that's what he does. He makes plays every game. You can point to him making big plays. Again, he doesn't get as many snaps as some of them, but he takes advantage of every snap, and that's what a good defense, a good team does. When you're in there, you need to make plays.
right.
And he does. And I thought Noah Wilder played well. You
Yes,
know, I mean, that's another guy that just makes tackles quietly, and he didn't really. I mean, I'm not sure we even called his name much on the radio, even though I think he was second leading tackler, but he just so steady. And the Tyler Taylor thing was unfortunate.
oh
Um,
yeah,
it certainly wasn't intentional. It certainly
It's one of
wasn't
those.
some.
Another thing, like, what do you want the guy to do? The
Yeah,
offensive guy turned into him. Like, I mean, as a defender,
yeah,
what are you supposed to do? I mean,
yeah,
like,
and that's a big time hit now. I mean, that is a
yes,
big, and it was a big time play. I mean, you get out there and clean up, but I mean, that was a big time play. And hey, letter of the law, the way the rule reads, I don't think you can complain about it,
I
just
know.
because I just hate that we've gotten to a point that if you make a hard tackle, it's immediately at least questioned. You're like, oh, it's a hard tackle. We got to look for
And
targeting,
the
you
fact
know.
too that it was buzzed down, like nobody on the field threw a flag. Like it was buzzed from the booth. Like I
Yeah,
just come on.
and that happens a lot. I mean, that does happen a lot because it's such a bang bang thing that a lot of times you can't necessarily. I mean, you don't see it because it's so bang bang, and honestly, I mean, again, letter of the law, maybe. I don't think that play right there deserves an ejection. I don't think
Mm-mm.
that was something that deserves targeting. But if I want to go directly by the rule book, maybe it does. So I don't know that you can necessarily complain about it
I don't
because
know.
that's just the way that the rule is. Now I do think they missed one on BYU. I think it was the second half, and I don't remember who it was or who was on. I just remember thinking like, that's a target, that's the same tackle,
Mm.
um, and I think they miss a lot of them. I don't think there was probably another one on UAB that they probably could have called. I don't know, but it was unfortunate, and it was really unfortunate because he was going to have to play a huge role on Tyler Algier because he's the most physical linebacker they have, probably by far.
Yeah.
And so he was the guy that you really need in there against that guy. And he had already excuse me, he'd already made some plays and he was going to. So you hate it for him, and you hate it, you hate it for the defense at the time. But again, I don't know that I don't complain about it because that's the way it's written, and I think that um, I think it was close enough and legit enough that you could give it a target call there. I just don't like the rule. I don't like the way it's written.
Yeah, they need to revisit that in the offseason. At least
Yeah,
I get the 15-yard, but it doesn't warrant an ejection unless like it was, if it was with intent, then you obviously it was a bad or he was going in with the intent to lay him out or hit him in the head and then maybe
right.
eject him or if somebody gets three targetings or I don't know, they just need to revisit it, in this
Yeah,
offseason.
it almost needs to be maybe like the two unsportsmanlike or whatever they
In
call it.
basketball, yeah.
Well, in football too. If
Uh,
you get two, you're ejected.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's almost like that. Almost maybe you should do that because it's hard to it's impossible to to determine intent.
Yeah.
Because you don't you're not in a guy's head. You don't know what he's thinking. I mean, it might just be go over and try to make a play. Even on those plays, I think there was one yesterday where they hit a punt returner, and you run into him before he catches the ball, or after a fair catch or something, and and you hit him hard, type thing when he's not looking, and that you should be ejected for that. But I don't. But it's not always intent. Sometimes you just get caught up, and you lose the ball, and you think he has the ball, and you hit him. I mean, you don't know. It's impossible to me to determine intent.
Yeah.
I mean, because even a lot of times when a guy launches himself, that doesn't mean he really launched himself with the intent that I'm going to hit him in the head. That
True.
just means, hey, it's a violent game, man. And,
It is,
you try
man.
to get, the harder hit, the better in your mind, and so
Trying to force
again,
a
I mean,
fumble. I mean,
I
that's what.
love. Don't get me wrong, I love the player safety aspect of it. We've got to do things to protect players. I totally
Right.
agree with that. Totally agree with that. But it's just not a. And sometimes we get too caught up in the black and white of the
Hmm.
rule book. Like, well, this is what the rule book says, so we have to do it. What you know, that's not. It's humans playing the game, humans officiating the game.
Yeah.
Let it be human a little bit instead of having to go the black and white of the rule book. And so again, I don't think that you could complain about it because the way the rules written, it probably was. But it was unfortunate for him, and it was unfortunate for UAB at the time, and you just got to move on from it.
And speaking of complaining, I'm sure if we have any BYU people listening, they're still complaining about that fumble when
Oh,
they thought it should have been an incomplete pass. But hey, the ref on the field called it a fumble, so I mean you can't change it from there. And good on, was it Mac McWilliams that got the
yeah,
recovery?
Bagby Williams we got the quick recovery.
Yeah.
Hey, come on now, that's a terrible call.
I know it
That's a
should have been
terrible call.
incomplete. Yeah.
That should have been an incomplete pass. And then and
We'll take it though.
oh,
Yeah.
I'll take it all day long. But let's be fair and honest with it.
All right.
If
Yeah.
it would have happened to us,
Oh, I'd be livid.
if we're talking about a play that would happen to UAB,
Oh, yeah.
we probably would have led the broadcast, led the podcast with it.
Yes.
So let's be fair on it. That's a terrible call. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't quite understand. He caught he caught it up above his head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he did have it in his hands at that point. I'll give you that. But when he's coming it down and trying to tuck, he loses it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Now he takes 2 steps, okay, but I don't think he had the ball securely in either of those steps.
No, I don't think he did either.
And
Yeah.
so I love that it held up because it's a huge play in the game,
Yeah.
and helped UAB win the game. But in my opinion, that was not a good call.
Well,
And
I just think it was, if we're gonna get a break from officiating, I'm glad we got that break right there.
oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. You take the breaks just like when they go against you, the other team took that break. I
Yep.
mean, nobody's gonna apologize. I'm not gonna apologize for that. It's not UAB's fault that guy made that call. UAB made it. Mac Williams made a smart play. He got the ball, got on it quickly.
Yeah.
And if you don't want them, if you're BYU and you don't want them to make that call, don't drop the ball.
Exactly.
I mean, it was self-inflicted, and I'll tell you what, I'll give, at least what I saw, Kalani Satake after the game, he wasn't complaining about it.
He wasn't. Yeah.
For what I saw, I mean, he basically just said, "Hey, that Nakua or whoever made the play, yeah, Sampson, I think." He said, he's a big part of the team. We still love him. I mean, he never said that was a bad call that I saw.
No, and he even said that they reviewed it. Like he acknowledged in his post game
Yeah.
that they went back and looked at it and they said it was a fumble. So it is
Right.
what it is. Yeah. So
Right. And again, what I don't know is maybe by the letter of the law, the rule book, that was a catch, and I mean, because they definitely go back and look at it. And of course, I look at it differently than somebody knows the rules, like an official
yeah.
or a replay official. Because that's the other thing. We don't give these guys enough credit for how well they know the rule book. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys are, whether you like or dislike the officials, especially in Conference USA,
Yeah.
who had a controversial ending in the in northern
The Cure
Illinois.
Bowl. Yeah, I
The
saw
Cure Bowl.
that.
So
Yeah.
that was interesting. But even then, these guys know officiating and know the rule book so much more than we do. So it's easy for us to complain, but we really don't know what correctly to look at a lot of times. And so, but they looked at it and they determined it pretty quickly too. Now, I'll
Yeah.
say it wasn't one of those where you're waiting for, I mean, they weren't even waiting through the commercial. I mean, they went. We thought they were really studying it, and during the timeout, and David Crane looked out at the field really quickly, and he said, "They're not moving. They've already placed the ball down. They've already made the call."
Nice.
And they never came out, and said it. We were in a commercial, never came out and said. I think when it came back from commercial, they said, play whatever. But at the time, they had determined it. I mean, I'm talking about real quickly. So I think it was that I don't think it was as close to them as it was to us,
Yeah.
I mean, they determined it quick. So, again, I don't agree with the call, but I love that they made it.
Yes. And I guess just, wrapping this thing up, Steve, looking at there was only 5 penalties called in this whole game. I mean, it looks like it was a very well officiated bowl
Yeah,
game on both
I
sides.
I thought what they did a great job of was they let the teams play.
Yeah.
They didn't give a lot of they didn't throw these pass interference flags from 40 yards away when
Right.
two guys are hand fighting. When both guys are hand fighting, there was none of that. There was I don't think there was a hold to call in the game. That I can remember.
Hmm.
That I can remember. So they say so that they let both sides do what they. On that long touchdown run, Moultrie got held down the field by, I think it
Yeah.
was 32. Um,
Hmm.
but you know what? It was behind the play,
Yeah.
and it really had no impact on the play.
Yeah.
So too many times in games we've seen on both sides. I'm not talking about just one side. Throw a holding call 40, 20 yards from the play on just a no reason to call it. And
Yeah.
so I thought they did a great job of letting them play it. And I know that there's things that were missed, I guess, and there was probably times that they should have called, maybe would have called something in their case. And the one roughing the passer call on Kelly Sanders, that was a great call.
Yeah.
That
I
was a
mean,
stupid
hey.
play. I mean, he didn't hit him hard. But he definitely shoved him down when
Yep.
he didn't
Late.
need to shove
Yep.
him down, and
Yep.
I thought that was the right call. Um, you know, the targeting call was by the rule. I thought they did a great job. And again, because you really didn't notice them,
Right.
and that's good. Because
Yeah.
too many games we've had over the years, this year included, you
Oh man.
noticed them a lot.
Hmm.
And you didn't notice them, and I think that's a win. And what's very encouraging about that is they were American Conference officials.
Yeah.
So
So hey,
if that's what we're gonna see going forward, I'll take it.
we'll take it in a heartbeat over what we're used to having. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just real quick too, Steve, I do want to talk just a couple minutes, just real quick about the basketball game. I went to Legacy Arena. Really good atmosphere. UAB unfortunately lost 65-59 to West Virginia, but UAB led most of the game. Unfortunately, Taven Lovin went down, twisted his ankle. Buffin fouled out, which was something that I said in the preview that I had with Ethan for the game, is that we had to stay out of foul trouble, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. So UAB did lose. But hey, the good thing about college basketball is, yeah, it's a tough loss, but rolling into conference play, as long as UAB handles their business in Conference USA, which I think we can, we should be good to, hopefully, especially going into March. But I did want to say, they announced the score at the end of the bowl game, and the whole arena just went crazy when they announced that the UAB had won the Independence Bowl over BYU, and that's just Steve. That's one of those moments that I'll never forget. I hate that I wasn't able to go to Shreveport to uh, go to the game, but hey, it was just a great feeling to see all the UAB faithful just at a basketball game, but just cheering on the biggest win in UAB football program history.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm glad I didn't know that had happened, but that's great. And hate that the basketball team couldn't get a big win there. But I agree with you. I think that it's what you do in your conference, and
Yep.
games like that will help you grow. And but yeah, that's tremendous that was that kind of reaction. And I hate it that you had to choose between one or the other. I
I
mean,
know.
and you know I don't know. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. You got to make the best out of the situation, and I think Andy Kennedy will make the best out of that. I think they'll grow from that, and
Oh yeah.
would love to grow from it with a win, but
Mm.
that didn't happen. But just a good day to be a Blazer yesterday. No matter what, and
That's
so
right. That's right.
that's what you got to look at it.
Definitely. Well, guys, if you're not already, please make sure that you are subscribed to our podcast on a podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to us right now. Just hit that follow or subscribe button and make sure you're following us on Twitter at twitter.com/BlazerPod. But as always, guys, go Blazers, and we'll see you next time.